So today we're going to be continuing to take a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. We're now on episode 65 of the series, and in the last episode we saw a bunch of events happening. We saw a major member of an alliance leave that alliance, and we saw the creation of 2 new countries in the Philippine Islands. So if you guys haven't seen last episode, make sure to go check it out before seeing this one. But if you guys do enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. All the support is greatly appreciated as we're trying to get to 200,000 subscribers by the end of this summer. We're getting really close, so even if you are already subscribed, leaving a like on the video, commenting, sharing, all that stuff is still really helpful and definitely gets us closer to that sub goal. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump straight into today's mapping scenario. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about is the creation of the internet. It is now the year 2017. One, the internet was created way later in this timeline compared to our timeline, and 2, we're getting really close to the modern day in this series. Anyway, the internet has been created, and we're going to kind of fast forward a little bit, and the internet has developed a lot faster in this world compared to how it's developed in our world. In our world, I mean, it did kind of just take off, but in this world, it took off even faster. And now information is being shared at a rapid pace, much similar to how quickly you can share information in real life today. You no longer have to rely on older technologies to get information from point A to point B. Now it is almost instant with the creation of the internet. And this is actually a huge point in the series, and I want to tell you why. For example, you know how the gold team is doing that genocide thing down here in their country? Well, now the information surrounding that genocide is starting to seep out of the gold team, which means that other countries are finding out about this genocide, or more so verifying the existence of this genocide. And it also shows that the gold team might have some people within it who aren't exactly loyal to the cause, because how else would information surrounding a genocide get out of a country such as this one? So my point is, the creation of the internet and the development of said internet has definitely made information more well known, and now countries are verifying the gold team's genocide, and they're starting to react with economic sanctions. Now, South Africa, for the most part, they already knew about the genocide. The whole point of this military alliance is anti-fascism, anti-gold team. But other countries that may have had doubts about the being of the genocide are now no longer having those doubts. Those countries are countries like Vietnam who had doubts, maybe Korea, maybe even countries in Europe like the Farmers Union had doubts about it. But of course, they're communists, they're anti-gold team, so they probably push those agendas. But it's mostly the more neutral countries that are now accepting this. Like maybe even America, for example, maybe they now recognize the gold team's genocide. So the creation of the internet has pushed that, but it's also eventually going to lead to things like social media, which we'll see how that affects the world, if at all. But we get better computers with the internet, and eventually AI one day and stuff like that. So really, it's going to be kind of a big step for the series, as I have already said. But now for our second event of the video, moving on from the internet thing. It is time to go right on down to the blue team over here in Mesopotamia, because at this point the blue team is approaching countries like India, and they're saying, hey, we know that something might be happening soon, and we're just giving you this classified information. But the blue team hands over some documents to India, and India will take this, they'll look at these documents, and they'll be like, huh, time to mobilize. India begins to mobilize its military, and nobody is really sure why. Once again, classified documents, the blue team isn't telling anybody, but the blue team does know that letting India know about whatever they've just told them is beneficial for them in the long run. But now we're going to stay in this region, and we're actually just going to go up here to the north, because we have a war breaking out in Anolia. The green country and the blue country are going to war. And why are they going to war? They're both democracies, so this is kind of weird. Well, the reason is because of violation of a trade treaty. Now, I'm not a big economic person, so when I make up this story, I hope that it isn't too unrealistic. But what was happening here is that the green team has a trade deal with the blue team, but the green team is also kind of not a very ethical country. They do a lot of money laundering, a lot of things that a lot of people would look at and say that's not very ethical. And they're exploiting a loophole to take advantage of their trade deal with the blue team. Basically, the blue team is exporting a lot of product into the green team, but the green team is heavily delaying the payments for those products. So much so that they aren't due for another 20 years, which is not within the premises of the agreement. And now the blue team, who is heavily reliant on the green team for economical purposes, is setting their military in. So blue team troops cross the border and start to invade into the green team. Their target is going to be the capital city, but their main target was this major city here, which they've already been able to capture. From here, they're going to go out and they're going to expand their front line around this area. Now, why were they trying to go after this major city above all else? Well, this is where they are exporting a majority of their product to. This is kind of like the city where it's all held in before it's shipped across the green team's country. They've not taken control of that city, and they are now bringing their product back out of that city and into the blue country. And basically, they're going over to the green team and they're like, hey, we are taking all of our stuff back. You're not going to get any of your money back for it if you did pay any of it. And basically what we're doing here is we're holding you hostage. Hey, if you come to the table, we'll stop killing your troops, we'll stop pulling all of our product out, and we'll work out a new trade deal that is fair for both of us. And the green team is actually going to go ahead and they're going to accept this proposal. So we have diplomacy being achieved between these two democracies. Let's go and see what happens. And as it turns out, nothing on the map, because like I said, this peace would be arranged via a new trade deal. Now they have one in place, which is a lot stronger, and the green team will probably stop ripping off the blue team, although they might have a little bit of revenge on their mind in the future. Who knows? Anyway, now we're heading on over to South America, where we have the creation of a new alliance. Also, why do you have two capitals? That's weird. Anyway, like I said, new alliance being created, and this is an alliance which is a not good alliance. Now, of course, me saying that would be biased, but unless you're a fascist, this isn't a good thing. The members of this alliance will include fascist Brazil, fascist North Chile, which you can barely see. We're gonna do something like that, still works. And the other member will be fascist Paraguay / Northern Argentina, whatever you want to call this thing. So this 3-member alliance is obviously situated in an interesting scenario. When you look at the ideologies of South America, these are 3 fascist nations, and the rest of the countries in South America are pretty much communist with the exception of Southern Argentina, but everyone else is a communist, including even Central America. So the creation of this alliance is, believe it or not, likely for defensive purposes, for the defense of Brazil and the other fascist nations, because the communists have recently spouted up, and we do know that the Europeans have something to do with that. So it's likely that this military alliance is purely defensive. And in terms of actual relations in South America, the creation of the alliance doesn't do much. There isn't like any huge spike in tensions. Now, of course, the communists will go ahead and call them out for this, saying that it's an offensive alliance and that it threatens their sovereignty, but it really isn't provoking them too bad. The troops on the borders, they aren't pointing guns at each other yet. It's just politically it kind of raises tensions just a little bit, but not militarily. The same cannot be said in Europe though. The communists will blame the brown team for stirring up tensions in a foreign continent, in this case South America, saying that the brown team and the fascists as a whole are planning to create one large universal front to roll over not only the communists of the world, but the free democracies of the world. This is a pretty dangerous and provoking message, as you're basically just, accusing the brown team, or the fascists in this case, of planning the death of the world. Now, of course, if the fascists actually are planning to do that, they're not going to come out and say that. So they will take the podium and they will say that these are blatantly provoking claims, and the communists are trying to start a global war. The communists, or more specifically the purple team, will clap back at the brown team, saying that is cap, and they will begin to insult the government officials of the brown team. So the purple team starts to act like a child, and the brown team is going to respond to that by pointing the guns at the purple team. So remember how there's troops on the border? Well, maybe not right here, these are the Alps. But remember how there are troops on the border between the brown and the purple team? Yeah, before they weren't pointing guns at each other, they were just, mobilized in there. But now the brown team has pointed its guns at the purple team, which of course will be responded with by the purple team pointing the guns at the brown team. And this isn't just an occurrence right here between the purple and the brown. This is an occurrence on all of the borders of the communist countries. So this is happening with Poland, this is happening with the Farmers Union, and this is also happening between North and South France. Basically, the communists and the fascists are now pointing guns at each other in Europe, which is probably where the bomb would explode should there be a bomb named World War IV. But yeah, tensions are now as high as they've ever been since World War III, where the whole world blew up. Speaking of blowing up, we haven't talked about nukes in a while, and that's because the the world hasn't produced a single nuclear bomb since the last one was blown up in the War of the Greats. But do remember that Mexico, America, West Africa, the Brown Team, and China all have nuclear weapons. Nobody's tried to create any more, nobody's even moved their nukes onto foreign soil. Like I've said in previous episodes, nuclear bombs and nuclear war, those ideas are extremely unpopular, even more unpopular and taboo than they are in real life, because there was a nuclear holocaust and a lot of people died, and the world understands that that's probably not something that they want to happen again, no matter how evil you are. Okay, that's pretty scary, so let's do something that's really peaceful and very nice. We're going over here to America and New York, maybe New England, or I guess Ontario, whatever you want to call this thing. They are going to be making a deal. America will be making a purchase. Now, America has done a land purchase before. They actually did it not too long ago with this central Canadian country, but they're doing another one, and this one will be a little bit more valuable. America will be purchasing Delmarva from New York. Delmarva is this little peninsula here, right next to the Chesapeake Bay. In real life, it doesn't really matter too much because it's like a part of the United States, but in this series, the strategical importance of this thing is a little bit more, and America would like to have full control over the Chesapeake area, and so they buy it. I'm not going to give you guys an actual like numerical price about how much this thing would be because I'm not honestly too sure, especially in Wixo terms. But America completes the purchase, and yeah, these two are cool. Really no issues in North America. All of like the tensions and war kind of mongering stuff, that has really kind of been put aside here. So North America, you get an award for the most peaceful continent. Congratulations. Now we're heading on over to Central Asia. The blue team and the blue team are going to war. Now it's not over a trade deal this time. Instead, it's over a family affair, which is interesting because we are in the modern era. And when I mean family affair, I mean like two family members who get into an argument about something within their family and they go to war with their respective countries. That isn't really something that happens in like the 2000s in our world, but also in this world as well. Family disputes were a thing of the past. However, these two countries have leaders that are related. They are cousins. And basically, they were arguing about the idea of a united union between these two countries concerning some historical family treaty. One that was never even actually used, never even signed. It was just a draft of a treaty that would have united these two countries under one, with the government being located in the south. So now you can kind of see how this has developed. The guy from the south went to his cousin. He was like, yo, remember this family treaty from 200, 300, maybe 400 years ago? Yeah, I signed it, and guess what? We own you now. And the dude from the north was like, no, that's not how that works. Our side of the family never actually even signed that treaty. And, well, basically, I'm not going to ramble on anymore. It leads to war. And very quickly, we see that this southern country is having a lot of success. I do apologize if you have any kind of color blindness. This is impossible to see. Kind of hard for me to even see, to be honest. But they will be successful until they're not, and the northern country pushes them all the way back. From here, that northern country will enter into the southern country, and all of a sudden they are losing the war. However, there is something at play here. The southern country knew that they would not be able to beat the northern country in a war. Just looking at the size difference, it's pretty easy to tell. So the southern country went and signed a secret treaty with the pink team up north, basically saying, hey, we're going to do this. We know it's stupid, and we know that it's going to result in us getting invaded. However, if you do join this war, we guarantee you over half of their country as long as you help us win. And the pink team, being a country which is not located in a very fortunate area, they're going to take that offer up. I mean, I'm not too sure what kind of resources they would get, but maybe there's a lot of population, maybe there's some developed economical capital. Either way, getting this land is worth the risk. So the pink team will be joining the war on the side of the southern dark blue team, and they will start to invade this thing. And it is, well, it's a very big success. The northern blue team didn't see it coming, and unfortunately they left this area completely open, so there's no defenses here, and the pink team is walking right through. They will still continue their invasion of the southern country, not taking over this area over here, but before the conclusion of this war can be found, we have something happening in the HRE. In this little area over here that has contested ownership, we have pink team troops and yellow team troops getting into a fight. Not like shooting each other, but actually just a fist fight. They kind of understand, you know, that the pink team is at war right now, so if we were to shoot each other, that would probably lead to the HRE getting involved. So they decide to settle their little dispute. Maybe it was a friendly dispute, maybe it was a drunken dispute, maybe it was probably definitely a drunken dispute, but they settle it with their fist. Now, unfortunately for the pink team, a member of the elector of the HRE is in this area at the time. He's inspecting the border and he sees this fight break out, and he calls on his troops, which aren't actually his troops, because the elector of the alliance at this point is this blue fascist country right here. So he calls on troops that aren't his, but they're technically HRE troops from the yellow team country, so he can still kind of do it, because remember, the HRE kind of acts as a whole country in defensive terms, but offensively it's not. But then he tells the troops to open fire on the pink team's troops, and that's exactly what they do. Not only that, but the dude then flies home to the capital. He goes to the ruler of the blue team and he's like, hey, so we're at war now. And of course the leader of the blue team is going to be very confused about this because no other reports exist of that. But then the border inspector is going to pull out a camera and show him a video recording of the fist fight, saying that the pink team troops were disarmed and then they started to fight the yellow team troops. So he's framing the drunken pink team guards as aggressors. And being the fascist that the leader of this country is, he will go ahead and say that the HRE is coming to the defense of the yellow team as the pink team has just attacked it. Now this is news to the pink team because they didn't even know that this happened, but the news spreads and the story that the elector gave is the one that everyone is going to run with. So everyone thinks that the pink team attacked the HRE, but in all reality, that's not what happened. But the HRE is now involved in this big Central Asian war, which absolutely sucks for the pink team because all of their troops are currently invading the dark blue team. Now, what do the democracies of the HRE think about this declaration of war? Remember, they are obligated to fight alongside the other members of their alliance in the name of defense of the alliance. Well, as it turns out, the HRE voted 3-3 to go to war. The 3 fascist countries wanted to go to war and the 3 democracies did not. So we have a split vote here. And what happens when there's a split vote? Well, the elector of the alliance, which is the fascist country over here, gets to do the tiebreaker. Therefore, it's a 4-3 vote. So the HRE goes to war. Remember, these 3 guys over here did not want to go to war. That would be important for what happens in the next episode, maybe. Anyway, the invasion of the pink country goes extremely well for the HRE. It's mostly just the democratic troops that are doing all the fighting over here, but still it goes well. Back over here with the dark blue country, their little expansion into the southern one doesn't go well. They start to get pushed back and even invaded by the southern forces, but they do see success in pushing back the pink team, who at this point is recalling a bunch of troops in order to fight back against the HRE. The southern country continues to push up and eventually they'll meet up with pink team forces, which helps them strategize a way to officially defeat this country. While the pink team is still getting pushed back by the HRE, at this point they are completely overpowered, and when cyan troops start to get closer and closer to the pink team's capital, they will be forced to sit down at a negotiations table with the HRE. Not before, however, we see the southern dark blue country capture the capital of the northern dark blue country, and they end up surrendering, which means that they no longer exist. And we have ourselves a little bit of a paradox here because the pink team surrendered to the HRE, but the country that they attacked, the dark blue one, also surrendered over to their attacker. So there has to be a mutual deal built between the HRE, the southern dark blue team, and the pink team, and they'll have no issue in sorting that out. They're going to hold negotiations in a neutral site, and that neutral site is none other than the city-state of the dark green team. The monarch of this thing invites the parties down to his city in order to work out this deal and what he believes to be a PR fixer-upper, because the green team has no PR right now. It sucks. They are dirty fascists, even though they're not anymore technically. So let's take a look at what these guys decided to do in this peace deal. Alright, so in this peace treaty here, we have a lot of land exchanges happening. So the HRE will leave its mark on the pink team in 2 ways. First of all, they'll take land from it, so the dark cyan team will take this land. This was 2 provinces. And then the yellow team will get their claim that they had with the pink team, and they will also get this province right here. Moving on over here to the west, we have a lot more land happening. So the pink team will gain a ton of land in this right here, as well as this province right here, making them have probably a net gain in land from this peace treaty. So they lost a lot of provinces over here, yet they gained a lot over here. They kind of shifted to the east. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing for them. But as for the rest of this treaty, we have the dark blue team getting these 2 provinces from the northern blue team. And yeah, that is the result. So I did say earlier that the pink team is affected in 2 ways. The first way with land. So how else are they affected? Well, they will be forced to join the Holy Russian Empire. Now this is very interesting because the pink team, first of all, isn't Russian. And of course, you know, not all of these countries are Russian in the first place. Religiously, they are not the same religion as the rest of the HRE. They are the blue religion. The HRE is part of the green religion. For the most part, the yellow team has a little bit of that blue team religion within them, if I can find the layer. It's a little bit mixed, but a majority of it was probably going to go to the green team. So that's weird. They were never a part of Russia. Sure, they might have been aligned with it, but we see that the dictator from the country, the previous ruler, stays in power as well, which brings up the question of, was this all kind of a false flag operation to get this dude into the HRE, and maybe to give the fascist future insurance should another tie ever happen? Because remember, the elector of the HRE changes every episode. So in this episode, it was these guys. In the previous episode, it was these guys, and it changes between the 6 countries every episode. But with the fascists and the democracies being tied in membership 3-3, but if one of these democracies were to ever become an elector in the future, they would have the tiebreaker in the 3-3, and the fascists aren't really keen on giving up any power to the democracies. So maybe this was all part of a plan to have this dictator step into the alliance and give the fascists that tie-breaking vote to make it 4-3 rather than 3-3. That's just a theory though. Maybe it's true, who knows? But we do know that the democracies are not happy about the result of this peace treaty. They're not happy about going to war in the first place and being forced to use their forces on the pink team when the fascists kind of just sat back and watched. And they make it well known that they're not happy. And more specifically, these two have the loudest mouths. The yellow team and the cyanish team. There has been a popular request to change the color of the Scandinavian socialist countries. Apparently they look too close to the fascists, which I can kind of see that, especially right here when these two next to each other. Now my question is, what color do we make the Scandinavian socialist countries? Because I feel like it needs to be like a red color. So we're gonna go with this red-orange color. I think it works maybe a little bit too similar to the communist color. Maybe that's a little bit better. We're gonna run with that. That is gonna end today's episode. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. All of the support is greatly appreciated as we're trying to get to 200,000 subscribers very soon. And yeah, make sure you guys tune in for the next Wixo video because something might be happening in it. And by something, I mean the age of aggression will be ending in it. That's right, this era ends in the next episode. In the last episode, I said that I was a little bit ahead of myself. We're all good now. I figured out how to make it work. So the age of aggression will officially end in episode 66. I hope you guys are excited, and I will see you all in the next video. And of course, thank you to all our super fans. This includes CTG on YT, Geeksco, Euroball, Serminator, Augusto, King Cheese, A Norwegian, RS, Gail Martinez, Australian Geo Guy, America and Canada and UK, Zaylance, Lazo Does Nothing, Freezioi, Laser Taze, Nevada Garbage Trucks, Pablo Sigma Cat, Death Strider X, Hammer Toad 45, and DW Cool Dude. Once again, thank you guys.